Hello and welcome to Journey Through the Universe. As you can probably tell by now, it's only me today because unfortunately Urania has lost her voice. Due to this, we have postponed our Dark Moon Reflections chat to next week, July 2nd. This week, we will instead be posting an archive chat on prophetic dreams. This chat was live streamed March 27th, 2024. We discussed points such as what are the qualities of prophetic dreams, what are their benefits, and how to utilize them. We also touched on the experiences of prophetic dreams regarding the collective unconscious. Check out the video, let us know what you think, and drop your comments below. Before we go, I want to take a moment to talk about Dreamigos. Urania and I have been working with a developing dream app called Dreamigos. That's Dreamigos. You can find this app on the Apple Store or Google Play Store. It is a wonderful dream app where you can record your dreams in a variety of different ways and keep them private, or you have the option to add them to our Dreamline, which is public, so you can be a part of the community and get help from other dream experts like Urania and I on interpretation and guidance. So download the Dreamigos app today, and maybe you'll get Urania and I interpreting your dreams or giving you some guidance. With that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful night and sweet dreams.
Hello, everyone. Alexis and I are here again for another beautiful week and talking about dreams. So in this video, in this live stream, we will be talking about prophetic dreams. And this is such an expansive conversation. And I'm really excited to continue to talk about it. This is not going to be the last conversation regarding this topic. So if you have any experiences, any comments, any questions that you want to share with us regarding this topic, feel free to leave it in the chat. If you're watching the replay of this, please leave it in the comment section of the replay, and we will definitely answer your questions or chat with you about whatever you decide to share. As we start this live stream about prophetic dreams, I want to first just define what prophetic means, because I use prophetic. That's the first thing that comes to mind in the nature of like this type of dream that we're going to talk here. And this is what I use as far as the title of the live stream, because, you know, people will recognize like prophetic dreams. We know it is like something coming from the future. It's the foretelling of a future event. But in the same breath, I actually resonate more so with the term precognitive. And like they all, like psychic, precognitive, prophetic, they pretty much mean the same thing, but there's like a connotation around psychic, and prophetic just makes it seem like very grand. So I want to just define these three terms that are associated with this type of dream. So for prophetic, and these are all according to dictionary.com. So for prophetic dreams, or the definition of prophetic, means that it is accurately describing or predicting what will happen in the future, right? So if you have a prophetic dream, this dream is accurately describing or predicting what will happen in the future. So for psychic, the definition of psychic, and this was the most interesting one because I was like, ooh, there's so much energy and emotion and like, yes, just into this word psychic. But the definition is relating or denoting faculties or phenomena that are apparently inexplicable by natural laws, aka like, so you'll see it as like psychic powers, right? And that was pretty much the like most like grounded or neutral definition that I saw there. And I was like, that's funny. There's a lot of weight when it comes to like psychic anything, right? So psychic dreaming is something you'll see too. And then precognitive simply is having or giving foreknowledge of an event, right? So just like receiving some sort of information or intelligence of a future event, right? And so while these all basically mean the same thing, personally, I like to use precognitive. Maybe it's like the science part of myself. And I just, yeah. So, but in prophetic, I feel prophetic is like, when I think about prophetic, I'm like, ooh, I'm connecting with the Bible and like these fables, and like someone had this really profound dream that's like very rare. And it's like, what is it? The seven famines, the seven, harvest, or Yes. So you get what I'm saying here. So Alexis, I'm curious of what you think about, just what do you resonate in as we begin this discussion with like just the definition and the terms here used.
I think they all really resonate with me. One the most simple definition that I have found is just a dream that described or suggested something that actually came true later.
Mhm.
And that is a very to the point definition for me. And it, describes what's happening. You have a dream, and that dream later occurs in life. And with no explanation. I also really love the word oneromancy,
Mhm.
and it is the form of divination based upon dreams and using dreams to predict the future. So
Mhm.
that is such a cool, the whole, like, the name for being like basically a dreamer, like a lucid dreamer, like, is oneronaut, I think they
Mhm.
call it. And I just,
Yeah.
it you could not pick a cooler name
I
for
know.
what, and it is divination. I mean, just like we look at and use tarot cartomancy for divination, using your dreams as divination is just, it's I mean, if you, I don't know, it's just, it's incredible. It's an incredible experience. And every time I have a prophetic dream occur in my waking realm, I'm blown away, absolutely blown away. And I'm finding, like we had this discussion earlier, I'm finding that as I'm going back in my dream journal and looking at old dreams, some of them I didn't even realize had happened or had pointed like towards things that have happened. And it's really, it's such an interesting experience.
Yeah. So, is there a term out of the three that you prefer to use? Or, you just
Um, I'm pretty okay with any of them. Um, I I I don't think that I particularly have a connection to one in general. I mean, I guess precognitive is just, bare bones, basic
yeah.
understanding. So that's probably the one that I would use to have conversations with, because I think it's, I don't know, it's like more, I don't know, grounded and science-y based. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
want to be this way, but I guess it's like the least woo woo.
Right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Um,
to keep it neutral. Yeah, I that's kind of how I resonate with
yeah.
um for my own self because I just feel like prophetic, it's like there's a lot of weight to that too. For me personally, I'm just like, oh, I don't know if this is like that, special. But yeah, so we'll start with reading Jace's comments here for
Okay.
those of you who are watching the replay or here now. Jace's Humane Dragon in the chat. Jace says prophetic dreams are the ultimate deja vu because you experience extreme deja vu when they happen in the waking world. And then maybe the precognitive dreams feel familiar, but not the level of a prophetic one. So basically, Jace is kind of saying similar to me, where there's like more of this like grand feeling to the prophetic dreams as opposed to precognitive dreams where it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, there's like precognitive is like kind of like a synchronicity. And Alexis and I are also going to just talk about how the whole dream doesn't have to be like a quote unquote psychic dream or prophetic dream. It could be literally like a symbol or a conversation or a place that could just be something that manifests within, the waking life, in the future. Um, Jay says, like the Egyptians had a group of people called the masters of the mystic arts who were dream deciphers and incubators. I have some dreams that reflect the difference. Okay. Oh, Mary's here. Hi, Mary. Um, awesome. Okay, prophetic dreams play out in the waking world exactly like they do from the dream. A precognitive dream is not the same. Okay. So that's an interesting hole to jump down. So, one of the really I feel, I guess, one of the burning questions maybe about prophetic dreams is like, how do you know if a dream is prophetic or precognitive or psychic, whatever term vibes. I'm just going to use precognitive, okay? But if we have questions that want to decipher between the two, if there's a difference, just leave it in the comments for you so we know how to address it. But I'm going to say precognitive, and that's the whole umbrella of these type of dreams, right? So how do you know if the dream is precognitive? Is there actually a way to know if the dream that you just had is precognitive? So Alexis, I'm asking you this just in your own experience, maybe what you've researched and learned and heard from others. Is there a way to know, like when
I
you have a
mean,
dream, oh, this is like a precognitive dream?
I genuinely don't know until it happens. And it's funny because the precognitive dreams that I've had, it can be anything from a very small, insignificant detail that, plays its role in my life eventually, but nothing too crazy, to the entire dream almost being exact to what happens in real life. Um, and when I've had those dreams, it's really difficult to say what, like, prior to what is precognitive. I haven't been able to do it. Um, there have been instances, like I'll talk about later, where I had a dream about someone passing away, but I've had dreams of people getting sick and passing away and they didn't. The ones that I did experience where it did happen, it was very impactful, but it wasn't so different from the dreams I've had of people passing away or getting sick who didn't actually, have that happen to them in my
Yeah.
waking realm.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for me personally. I guess I would say if you work on really paying attention to like past experience, past dreams,
Mm-hmm.
and past experiences where those dreams came true, maybe you can see a consistency. I haven't, but other people have different. We're all different, so we all have different skill sets and different abilities. So you might have like a bunch of precognitive dreams where you have a very specific dream symbol that shows up in each one, and
Mm-hmm.
that might be what the indicator is.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to determine because everyone's experiences are so different. Like, I can't say that there's one thing that's similar between all of my precognitive dreams, aside from the fact that they happen.
Right. So, and when you think about, okay, so I want you to, in this moment, like thinking about the dreams that have been precognitive and reflecting back on when you had the dream, if you can even, take yourself back to that moment and like more so maybe in the dream and then maybe awakening from the dream. Is there like any kind of like similarities or like connections like between the two? Whether it's like the emotion that you felt in the dream or just maybe like you mentioned, dream symbol is a big one. So I'll just say I from what I've learned, and then also I'll share my experience too, is that we get like little hints in the dream. I feel, and you and I have kind of just mentioned how like, what if like every dream has some sort of like precognitive element to it, right? And it's more so we're not aware of what is that indication of the future or that message or that guidance, and the more and more you do pay attention to your dreams and write them, and then not only writing them, but then going like after you have, at least I heard like 20 dreams was one thing that an expert on this mentioned, like, oh, let's have a record of like 20 dreams. And I think a moon cycle is perfect, right? So then say that gives you some, yeah, that's like 28 days within a moon cycle, so to speak.
Yeah.
And 20 entries gives you a grace period of like, okay, I'm not writing my dreams today, right? So it gives you some space. So yeah,
Yeah.
I can vibe with the 20 at having 20 dreams where you can reflect on. But yeah, usually I'm thinking there is maybe like a key symbol or like a key emotion that you might connect to or you might notice
Mm-hmm.
that is a synchronicity within the precognitive dreams that or this came to fruition, right?
Yeah.
So do you have something in the dreams that came forth as precognitive?
Yeah. Yeah, so in regards to emotion, I'll just pull up the first dream that was it played a role, but it was less significant than the next one. So I had a dream in June of 2022 where I had been visiting a friend's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to say the whole dream because there's kind of things in it that don't really apply. But at one point, like I was very anxious and very nervous throughout the entire dream, and I was on edge, and I just felt like something was off. And at one point, I had fluffed up my friend's blanket and I had hit his girlfriend in the face. And it was an accident. I didn't mean it. But it was just so anxiety driven. And I felt just like this overwhelming guilt, like so intensely that I ended up leaving. Like we ended up leaving. And then in October, I went with them to a haunted house and I had been in the front and his girlfriend had been behind me and I slipped and I slipped off of one of the things because it was really dark and when I went to catch myself I had hit her in the face
Mm-hmm.
and it was the same emotions, the same anxiety and guilt, and as soon as that happened the dream came back and was like and I it was almost parallel, like the emotions were parallel.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that that in itself, even though the whole dream, even what we were doing wasn't the same, the that one aspect of the dream had come true.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that one just was very, very, very anxiety driven, very guilt and shame driven. But um, other ones that I've had that had come true also had a mimicking emotion with it. So the most impactful one that I've had is in January of 2022, January 5th. I had a dream that my grandfather had fell out of bed and passed away, and I watched his spirit walk down his street and disappear. And 5 days later, my grandfather fell out of bed. This is in real life. 5 days later, my grandfather fell out of bed and passed away in the hospital later that day.
Mm-hmm.
And even though the whole experience was very sad and overwhelming, there was a sense of calm that the dream brought for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that calmness carried over to his actual passing. I
Wow.
didn't feel it felt I mean, I ruminated on that dream. On Sunday, the day before he passed away, I was just mourning him. He didn't pass away. He wasn't in the hospital. He didn't do anything. Everything was fine, but I was mourning him because of this
Yeah.
dream. I wrote a goodbye letter. I listened to songs he would sing me. And then the next day, he passed away. And I remember my sister coming and she was so upset for obvious reasons, but I was just completely calm because I already knew it happened. I knew it was coming. I knew it happened without even knowing.
Yeah, that's definitely a recurring experience and like I would say benefit of these types of dreams is the feeling like you've been prepared. And I'll just share that excuse me, that when I first got into so I've said this many times on these live streams. I've always had very vivid dreams, but
Same.
I like for being someone who's been spiritually connected or devoted to this life and doing astrology and tarot and spells and rituals, all of that, I never I felt an invitation, but I never like really did the dream work because
Mm-hmm.
I knew there was a fear there, many different fears. The main fear that I was aware of was of, okay, my grandmother always shows up in my dreams along with another like relative who passed away like untimely and unfortunately. And so I was like it was that realm was pretty like scary for me. And so um I knew going into this dream space that was a big fear. That was something as like I wanted the precognitive dreams, but I wanted the ones where it's like, oh, here's honestly, I'm going to be straight up and honest. Like at that time, I was manifesting like a lottery win, which hasn't happened yet. But I was like, ooh, like this is how it came through. It was like I was watching, I don't know, I was just on this path of like awakening my psychic centers, and it just happened to pop up on my YouTube channel of someone having a dream about receiving the winning lottery numbers. And I'm like, well, it's popping up on my YouTube. I feel like I need to be paying attention to my dreams, right? So, and I've always been really curious, in a sense too, because I wanted to, at the same time, I knew when it came to manifestation and clearing of either like certain past resistance and, just like learning more about myself. I was like, I need to go into the dream space because like there's so much there that I have no idea about, right? And I need to connect to this like silent aspect of myself. And so as soon as I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. Literally as soon as I jumped into the dream work, and I was also doing the research, reading books and listening to audiobooks, and we hit the precognitive. I'm like, yes, that's what I'm down for that. And of course, so many people share about, oh, I learned about my past loved one dying, and I was like, it sent me like, that was like a fear, and it literally sent me into a mental breakdown. And I had to like, and this was like 2 weeks into the dream work, and I was like, I'm not ready for this. Like I need to ground myself. I need to like clear. And so this is a very, very sensitive topic. And at the same time, what I've been hearing recurring as far as like the message is that like, or from people's experiences, is that even though it's really difficult and hard to hear, to see, like it's really like like to have a dream of that is really scary and anxiety inducing and all the things. Like if it actually manifests, it's, you feel prepared, right?
Yeah.
And that's like very like, it's a recurring message like in everything that I come across, right? And so I actually told Alexis, we were just talking about what we are going to discuss today, and I was like, that was one of the things that I definitely trust in our unconscious self. And I also share with Alexis that I feel our unconscious self is like very conscious. Like I'm like, I got to figure out another word to use, because it's like this part of myself that I've been connecting with. And I know those of you that really do the dream work and have made the connection and have received the messages and had these like aha moments and profound moments of like, whoa, what the hell? Like, what is this? Like that unconscious self is so freaking powerful and is so like divine. And yeah, it's mind blowing.
It's like a
And so,
bottomless pool.
right. Yeah. It's just like, oh my gosh, this is like, like, yeah. So, anyways, like going into this, and this is for those of you watching who might feel like this is a sensitive topic. I mean, it's a sensitive topic for everyone, but those of you who might have some anxiety around this, it's like, I know that my unconscious self, like, she will only give what it is that I can handle.
Mhm.
And if you understand that, it makes sense on a rational level, but you still feel like, oh, I'm having issues like having faith or trusting in that, make an agreement. Like I really had like, and this is how I was able to step back into this work, the dream work, is that I had a conversation with my unconscious self being like, hey, like, please, I really am devoted to this work. And I really, I request that you give, what it is that I can handle, right? I trust that I'm divinely protected and divinely guided. So please only provide what it is that I can handle at this time. And once I made that statement and that agreement, like in a very like ceremonious, or no, it was a conversation, but it was a meditation into a conversation, I felt grounded that I can approach this conversation. Um, so, but I want to just say that is one of the benefits that has come forth in regard to like having these really intense dreams is that, you feel calm, you feel prepared, and it sucks, but it could have been worse. Like it could have completely blindsided you. So it's like almost like in a weird, like crazy way, you rehearsed for this, right? You were primed for this.
Yeah, and there's so much mystery behind it too. You like sit and think about, well, why me? Why specifically me? Why this specific message?
Yeah.
What gave it to me? Was it universal? Was it my grandfather? Was
Yeah,
it
it's like why,
something?
but why? Yeah, it's like why even do I feel like why do I need to know this?
Yeah, and it's also one of those things where one of the theories that I think about is like, are we receiving messages from the future, or are we traveling through time through our unconscious? Like, is that a possibility that we can move through different timelines while we're in the unconscious state, like the dream realm? It's so interesting.
Yeah, and it's like, and this is really for me when I have the experience of precognitive dreams, it's like it it really validates the concept of everything is happening at the same time, right? Because it's like it's here now,
Mm-hmm.
but then it's in the future from this reality of Earth and of this conscious waking life.
Yeah,
So I'll share my perspective on as far as like how do you know if it's a precognitive dream? So I'm with you, Alexis.
please.
It's like you don't really know, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can get hints. I feel like the first step is like writing your dreams, right? The dream recall. So you want to write your dreams and you want to make a point to go back and read the dreams, right? Um, so that's a big thing is like things are in like it's like a hindsight kind of experience, at least in the beginning. And then I realized that and I'm getting chills right now. I'm realizing that with it's not every single dream that produces strong emotions is precognitive, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's something. It's like, ooh, this one is like bringing strong emotions, whether it's like, it could be really anxiety, it could be nightmarish, it could be like really uplifting and pleasurable. But if it's like drawing out strong emotions, it's like, you need to write that down, right? There might be something there. And then the intuition is something you also want to connect with. And like you said, Alexis, the personal dream symbols is something that might be a hint. Like, so I feel that as you do the dream work, there are hints that come forth. And so I'm going to share, and I'm so excited because Alexis is actually like was on this journey live with me as far as like what I consider was a precognitive experience of my dreams. But I had, and it's happened twice already. So if when it happens again, I know that I'm like, ooh, this is like a hint that this is probably something that's precognitive. So I won't say the whole dream, but just to keep it short, there's a dream symbol that I realize is a hint that this might be precognitive, and it's the moon phase. So for those of you, most of you watching probably know I'm an astrologer, and so I just know I have like the timing. I'm a record keeper, celestial timekeeper. I know like where the moon is 9 times out of 10 and all the planets when it comes to the tropical zodiac. And so I had the first dream I had. The whole dream was like wild and like there was a lot going on. It was a very fun, adventurous dream. But the meat of the dream was that I was with like an ex-boyfriend. We were going to some like secret event, like, and him and I in real life, and this was like an ex-boyfriend from like 20 plus years ago, but we would go and smoke hookah together like at like different like a little lounge or whatever. And so in the dream we were doing that. So it was like this secret spot in like a strip mall, and like you didn't even like you would have it was like in between the stores. It was like this weird portal, and I thought that's what we were doing. And so we when we go into the place, I we're in line, and it's like a lot of people there, but not a lot of people. And once I realized like it's my turn, and there's like this, like, and they're all on the floor. So it's these like fortune teller ladies, and we're in line to sit with the lady. And they have like, it was like three ladies that were doing tarot readings. And then after you do the tarot readings, you did like the destiny card readings, which my very first professional astrology reading was, I don't know if she termed it destiny reading or karma reading. I think it was like she had destiny cards. So I feel like I keep thinking, when I think about this dream, I keep thinking about that. But anyways, so there's an element of what has happened in real life too. And so anyways, long story short, once I like sat with the like I realized where I was, I started crying out of joy. And I was like, oh my, like it was like a homecoming, like I'm home, I can't believe I'm here. And anyways, she was like pulling my cards, all the cards were good. And then she was like, like there's only like a few bad cards here. And as she's saying this, two cards fall. Well, one card I see in passing, which was the death card. And then there was another card that actually came out, and it was the Nine of Swords. And anyways, to bring it long story short, she mentioned that she told me to pay attention to the moon phase, and that's pretty much all she told me. And so and then I never made it to the destiny card reading. And it was funny, she also said something about 10 years ago was the last time we were here, yada yada yada. So I don't know, I still haven't come across what that 10-year mark indicated. But anyways, so when I woke up, I knew, I was like, okay, the Nine of Swords with tarot, there's astrological correlations to the cards. They're called, like, they have decans essentially of each sign. And so I knew that with the Nine of Swords, that was, I believe it was Mars and Mercury, or no, Mars and Gemini. What the fuck? Mars and Mercury, that's two planets. um but anyway, so I was like, oh shit. And I told Alexis this next morning, and I was like, the moon's going to be in Gemini in a couple days. And I was actually freaked out and worried about it. And I told Alexis the whole dream, and she was like, no, I don't feel like it's like a cautionary dream. I feel like it's just like, hey, pay attention. So literally the day of, or like pretty much at that moment, the moon had moved into, I think it was the second decan of Gemini, which was Mars in Gemini, which was equivalent to the Nine of Swords. Mm-hmm. My mom had texted me that night to remind me that my grandmother, the 20th anniversary of my grandmother's death, was the following day. And I was talking to Alexis at the time, like we were messaging back and forth, and Alexis was like, how do you feel? And I was like, I feel, it was like I was more in awe and inspired, and I was like, oh my gosh, than anything. Like I had my emotional breakdown the next day, but I was like, I felt prepared. And I knew it would have been worse, right, if I didn't know that. And I was like, yeah, I was like, I feel in a weird way prepared for this. Like I feel so inspired, and like, what the hell? And then just to come back to that, like, so yes, that felt like a precognitive moment. And then the next week I had another dream that pointed to a moon phase. And so it told me, it was like I was in the dream, someone called me over to look at the moon, we were outside, and I mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, that's a waning gibbous moon. And I was talking about the moon. And like within 2 or 3 days later of the dream, there was a waning gibbous moon. And that day was just a really like powerful, creative, like feel good, high vibe day for me, like professionally, which correlates to my birth chart of like, because the moon was in Leo, and so Leo rules my professional world and visibility and all that. So there was just like really good vibes. And anyways, that was my dream symbol that kind of gave me a hint, like, hey, this moon phase is coming up, right? And so pay attention to that. And so now, just personally for me, I'm like, okay, if I get a message about a moon phase in my dream or anything about the moon, I know something's coming up. So I just wanted to share that as like a precognitive moment.
Real quick, I just wanted to let you know that today, in my tarot reading, I pulled the Nine of Swords.
Did you?
Yeah, I just thought that was a funny little like thing.
Wow. I feel like no, I pulled it. Was it today? I don't know if it I have to check, but it could have been today or it was yesterday. I think yesterday I had the Seven of Swords. I think I pulled the Nine of Swords today. That's interesting.
That's
Wow.
hilarious.
Yeah. So, that's that. Would you say the benefit, what are other benefits of having these precognitive dreams?
I think definitely learning more about yourself in existence and what role you play and how everything is, and just kind of like for me, it's like as many questions are being answered, I'm getting the same new collection of questions that are yet to be answered.
Mhm.
And it really just it brings my focus to a wide variety of different um oh my god, I lost my train of thought. It just opens my mind. It
Yeah.
opens the door to so much more, and it really makes me
Yeah.
feel so much more connected. And it's funny, like like it just seems like these things are happening, and the more it happens, the more mysterious it feels, and the more mysterious it feels for me, the more comforting it is. I don't
Yeah.
know how to explain that. Well, I guess I can try, but you know, it's like most people are seeking answers
Hmm.
and for the comfort, but there's something for me that's really comforting about not having the answers to the questions and the questions just expanding.
Yeah.
So I think really connecting with yourself in this existence and trying to live in every realm, it's like um it's just so much more expansive for life in
Yeah. And
general.
I
Your life
feel
is
that
just so much deeper and more expansive.
I like how you mentioned like everyone's looking for the answers. And you and I have had this conversation before about spirit guides and, just connecting with different deities and energies. And I feel like I mentioned at the end of the day, I've never felt as much like empowerment and strength and just inspiration than doing dream work. And when you
Yeah,
start realizing the synchronicities, you're just like, whoa, it really is like literally all within me,
yeah,
you know?
and never ending. It's never
And it's
ending.
never ending, right? So all of you Scorpio people, like you have Scorpio rising, sun, moon, like stelliums in Scorpio. This is our like playground. It's
Yes,
a new space,
yes. It's that
literally.
deep, dark, black pool of
Yes.
just infinity.
And it's mysterious and it's investigative, like it's a different language, so you have to decipher through the different languages to kind of see like, okay, what's going on, and you got to go
Mhm.
back and do your research. And yeah, so it's oh my gosh, I'm so happy that I broke through my own fear in approaching this stream space.
I'm
And
so proud of you. That's so huge. It really is such a huge
yeah,
accomplishment. I mean, facing your fears in general is a huge accomplishment. It doesn't matter how small it may seem or
yeah,
how big it is a huge accomplishment.
I wanted to ask you, um and this is like maybe not a question that can really be answered, but it's like, how can we like utilize, like, how can you best make use of these types of dreams? And of course, like we were saying with prophetic dreams, you don't really, most of the time, you at the end of the day, you don't know until after,
Mhm.
right? And so, like, what do you do with that? When you have like, how do you integrate that? I don't know. I don't even know if
It's
that's the right question to ask.
No, I completely know what you're saying, and I really don't have like a clear answer for that. I think just keeping track of it, and it also poses the question of what if every single dream we have has a little bit of precognition to it, and it's just so insignificant, or seems insignificant that we don't pick up on it. Like even if it's one tiny little thing, like in a dream you're wearing a blue shirt. It's
Yeah.
like, what if all of the
Yeah.
dreams have their precognition to the future? It's so interesting. Oh, I'm like,
Yeah. So there is so much we wanted to talk about, and we're
I
like 10 minutes
know.
over. So I want to be mindful of time.
I mean, we can always extend a part, like a part two, if you
Yeah,
want.
we'll definitely have more parts on this because we were
Mhm.
going to talk about the collective unconscious.
Yes, and I
Um,
feel like that requires a
yeah.
lot of time.
That requires a lot of time and a lot of like, or not a lot of, but I want to do a little bit more research on that because I just learned that there is an open database with the ion community, which I don't really remember what this acronym stands for. But yeah, maybe I'll put a link to it in the description of this video. But basically there's a database, and this is the ion group is basically scientists who study like dreams, precognitive, like psychic experiences. So things that are really hard to like put it into the science field, like
Hmm.
that's what they dive into. And
Yeah.
so they have a database for the public to pretty much like it's like a dream bank where you can just drop your dream.
Hmm.
I think it's like also if you feel that it's precognitive, which usually pertains to like dreams that just feel like, yeah, like people that are aware that, oh, there might be like some like I'm tapping into the collective unconscious, whereas like an apocalyptic type dream. And Alexis, you and I have had dreams like that.
Oh,
um
many.
I feel like people like this is a place where you can place those dreams, and I
Yeah.
believe that it's open to the public to read, but I'm going to check it out. But that's definitely a whole entire live stream.
Yes.
But I do want to just point out that that's the thing too when it comes to precognitive dreams, right? Where you can have dreams about upcoming major events,
Yes.
active.
Yeah, there are many instances that I have come across where people have canceled flights, canceled cruises, canceled meetings, and for one reason or the next, a lot of them have had bad dreams leading up to these dates and them canceling these things and then the disaster that they were dreaming about occurring.
Mm-hmm.
um and I have a couple different examples of that I'd love to share, but yeah, it's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, we'll
Quite a
do
bit.
a collective unconscious dream live stream conversation about that because I feel like I don't want to just skim the surface on it.
I agree.
When I talked about prophetic dreams before, and this is when I feel Alexis like had just jumped into one of my live streams when I was
Oh
doing on
yeah.
Instagram. And I mentioned how what I learned as far as one of the indicators of a prophetic dream, or when you're looking back in hindsight, they and these two particular individuals pointed to the fact that those dream or the basically precognitive dreams to qualify it as precognitive or like prophetic is that it will tend to happen within like 3 to 7 days,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 2 weeks, maybe 14 days. I feel like 3 and 7 are like very clear markers
Mm-hmm.
within that window. And like, so you've had experiences of where it's been like over a year.
Oh
And
yeah,
so, yeah,
it
there's
can
been a
be.
bigger span.
So far the it has gone from a couple days, like 5-ish days, to several months, to as long as like 12 to 15 years. And I've talked to a few people who have also had these long-term prophetic dreams where there's no way they could have known about these things prior to, like people they never met, like places they've never been.
Yeah.
And they have the dream when they're in middle school, and then in high school that experience occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Or like for me, I had a particular dream where I was walking through a narrow living room having an argument with someone, and I believe this is actually probably the first time that we talked about this on your prophetic live chat. I You invited me to actually come on and talk about that because of the timing. But I had been walking through this narrow living room, arguing with a woman, looking out the window at a car. And the actual experience happened 15 years later when I was with my, well, now husband, but boyfriend at the time. But the person in my dream was my husband. And it was from his perspective, his eyes. And I
Gotcha.
was the one in the car watching in.
Yeah.
So it's just, it's so interesting. It's crazy. It just blows my mind. So that's where I kind of go off with that, is that for me, most like occasionally I'll have one that's within a week, but my prophetic dreams happen more spaced out for
Yeah.
sure.
And I don't know why it's like a part of me feels so clingy to that like 2 weeks max, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, but and I think what that stemmed from actually when I think about it is that like I do feel that through experience and just like intuitively that our dreams are giving us insight to more so to what is happening currently, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that could literally be the gestation of events within our unconscious mind. Like it could be like the seed of something that will manifest later, but for
Mm-hmm.
some reason it's showing up right now, right? In this current experience, in this like there's something that is relative to that future event. Something's happening right now in this
Mm-hmm.
current time, right? And the seed is being planted. So if it happens like a year, 6 months, 10 years down the road,
Mm-hmm.
this for that was planted at the time of the dream, right? Or some connection was made. And that just like, oh my gosh, that like drives my mystic, like investigative Scorpio aspect of
Ah,
myself. I'm just like,
it's
it,
the mystery of it that is just
yeah,
so,
it's like, yeah,
so it fuels my fire. The mystery fuels my fire. And it's like, there are other theories that I like to think about too with this. I mean, um, parallel universes.
yeah. Like it literally is like, yeah, are you tapping into another timeline? Like you and I
Yeah,
have talked about that before. I was like, I keep having the same dream. Like, am I just like astral traveling to another a reality, a parallel existence that it's happening now? And I'm just like, and I'm sleeping here, but I'm going over there to like live in this life.
yeah.
So yeah, it's incredible. It's amazing. So let me just look over the comments as we're coming up to an hour here. Jay says, I have had arguments from having a dream about an argument with someone only to have it happen. Wait, let me reread that. I've had arguments
That's
from
funny.
having a dream about an argument with someone who only to have it happen. Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's funny that he mentions that because I was just talking with my aunt yesterday when I was getting my hair cut and we were talking about dreams. A lot of my family members have very, very vivid dreams or prophetic dreams as well. And she said, like, she told me that when she is like, she'll have a dream, and if it's like an argument, she knows when it occurs to keep her mouth shut. Don't say anything.
yeah.
And she will avoid that argument because of the precognitive dream that hinted at what was going
Right.
to happen.
Well, I will add though, it's like, okay, so that could be a precognitive element, but and this is the power of dreams where it's giving us insight of like, okay, this is here, like you need to address this. So if this is something that's drawing out like some sort of like fire, passion, discord within you where it might turn into an argument, it's like, how do you address this in maybe a more like you're getting insight to it, right? So how do I address this in a way that's more like calm, or
Yep.
I need to do something about it?
Hmm.
And it makes me think about, I mean, I've had dreams in the past of like maybe lovers like, cheating on me or whatever,
Hmm.
and or just weird dreams. And I'm just like, you're looking at the person like, what? But yeah, it's interesting. I can see how some of those can be like, can induce arguments. So that's a really good fun one. That yeah, it's just like what it's like the chicken or the egg type situation. And
Yeah.
this makes me think of, which we can have a whole nother live stream about this, but how it's said that dreams at the end of the day, your dreams it's all about you. Even if
Hmm.
you're getting insight about, say, your grandfather passing away, unfortunately, and I'm sorry that that you experienced that in that way, but also it's like in the nature of that dream, what does that have for you personally? What does that mean for you personally? And could it just be simply the preparation for that,
I think so. I think that I had a close relationship with my grandfather, especially when I was a kid. And I was looking back on when I was a kid, I actually used to lay in bed and um, imagine his funeral. I mean, I would have to be like 6 or 7 years old. I would imagine his funeral and lay there and cry.
Mm,
And I was thinking about that a little while ago about how that could have possibly been like an in between state of dreaming and being awake, because the funeral that I used to have these experiences in was the funeral that, like, the viewing, the wake was what um I went to.
mm-hmm.
Like, I
Yeah.
think that it was something that I needed to really prepare for, even and when I had that dream, it, like I said, it really did, it took a weight off my shoulders. And not to I don't want to make that like about me, like the like I was carrying all the weight, but I
No.
was carrying a little bit of it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
my grandfather and I shared um that ability to dream very lucidly, and even when he was experiencing his later Alzheimer's dementia, I would go over and ask about his dreams,
right.
and he was still having more lucid dreams, but I think because of his Alzheimer's and dementia, it was starting to really um like interweave into his waking realm. Like, it was almost like there wasn't a whole lot of ability to separate.
Yeah. That's an
But
that's another live stream too. The merging the, the
yeah.
realms. But yeah, no, that makes sense too. Now that you explain it more, that you would have the dream, the precognitive dream, because you were already close in that realm. And
Hmm.
so it's like some aspect of himself, his unconscious self, was connecting with your unconscious self, and that was
Yeah.
happening, which seems like we talked about a dream or just a few hours ago, where it's like, oh, there was a connection made between the unconscious selves who are really conscious and divine, and like
Yeah. Yeah.
can connect in that way. Okay, so another comment: dream work is powerful. It has been used for centuries by mystics, holy people, wise women, priests, priestesses. You can do shadow work, astral learning,
Mhm.
manifesting. Yes, all the things. And this is why I'm like, why have I not accessed this realm? And here I am. So I'm really excited. It was only a matter of time to
Yeah.
connect this way.
Yeah. I mean, I had been reading about something earlier today, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but um, thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago, I don't know. Um, a lot of it was said that a lot of the people actually lived in that dreaming, waking realm and not really knowing the difference. And the kind of almost like worshiping the dream realm more so than the waking realm.
Yeah.
Um, but it wasn't until I think I want to say, I'm gonna be wrong. I know I'm gonna be wrong. My memory can only hold so much. I didn't write it down, but it was like the 18th century when religion, like Christianity, really became big, where they were seeing dreams as a form of sin. So then they stopped
Out of fear,
out of
honestly.
fear.
All at the end of the day, it's all out of fear.
Oh,
Like there's
absolutely.
so much power.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much power within dreams, even when it comes to astrology, when you get into the Hellenistic, the timing techniques, the predictive quality of it, or just the nature of and I'm going off topic, but just this is a big thing too with your fate and like reading
Hmm.
your fate, and like when you get into like the unconscious aspect of that birth chart, which is a whole nother layer.
Hmm.
Like people are afraid of that, right? And so what did they do? They're like, hey, you want to escape your fate? Okay, like basically like accept Christ as your Lord and Savior, and you can be born again, and like your fate, your destiny is like washed away. And it's like, I don't know about that. So
Well, I
yeah,
think
so
you're
it's
right, though. That's how a lot of fear really does.
yeah,
It puts people in really weird
yeah,
positions.
it really,
And
really does.
to me, I don't think it's fearful to not have, like I said before, I don't find it fearful to not have the answers. Like, I can't say what's going to happen after we die, but I don't really want to know until I get there. That's
Yeah, because
whatever
it's like
happens
once
happens.
you know, you can't unknow.
Yeah, and I
You know?
like a mystery, as I as I explained. I like a surprise.
And like one of the things about the Buddhist temple that I frequent often, the Rinpoche was like, bliss is not, or awareness is not bliss. Like,
Hmm.
how they say ignorance is bliss. Yeah, ignorance is bliss. Like once you know shit, like
Hmm.
it can be intense, like you have the satisfaction of knowing. And then there's another side of the coin with that, where
Yeah.
it's like, ooh. And that's how and that's what I had to, accept and surrender to in the dream space, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to have the precognitive element where it's like, ooh, I might get the winning lottery number, or, whatever. Or I might, have this really, yeah, I don't even want to go there. Right. So it's like I had to accept both. Right. Where it's like
Yeah.
once you're into that space, you open the door,
Hmm.
and you're already curious and inspired. Like there's no like turning back. Once you see it, it's there.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, this has been great. I don't know, Alexis, if you don't have any last words, I think we're pretty good here. So thank you everyone for watching, and sweet dreams.